Welcome to Martino Movie Reviews. I'm Dave North Martino. Today we're going to talk about M3GAN, which is a science fiction horror film. M3GAN is stylized as M3GAN. So, just for your confusion, this review, of course, will be spoiler free. And before we get into that, I just want to let you know that Amazon will be discounting my book, Wolves of Vengeance, down to 99 cents from 8 a.m. on March 13th to 8 a.m. on March 20th in the US and in the UK. So if you've ever thought about getting my book, you can grab it then. So, if you go to IMDb, you'll see that M3GAN is listed as a robotics engineer at a toy company, builds a lifelike doll that begins to take on a life of its own. So that's a fairly decent description and definitely a spoiler free description. Gives you an idea of what's going to happen. Now, it was directed by Gerard Johnstone. It was written by, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, Akala Cooper, from a story by Cooper and James Wan. And we all know James Wan from his other horror works. Does this live up to his other works? Well, we'll see. We'll see. Now, it stars Allison Williams and Violet McGraw, and Amy Donald portrays the physical M3GAN, while Jenna Davis provides the voice acting. What I found was that M3GAN is, it's pretty derivative of movies like Child's Play, from like the 1988 Child's Play, Wes Craven's Deadly Friend, which might be a little bit obscure now, RoboCop, especially with some of the commercials that they do, and even a little bit of Real Steel, if you remember that one with Hugh Jackman. So it is a pretty derivative movie. Is it the worst horror movie I've ever seen? No. No, it's watchable. And the effects, especially of the M3GAN AI doll, I think they're pretty well done. Unfortunately, there's tonal shifts, and these tonal shifts, they kind of make you wonder if, are you watching a horror film or you're watching a satirical comedy? These shifts don't really work. And it begins in the early part of the film when we have the opening. And I don't want to, again, I don't want to give any spoilers. This is spoiler free. But like in a lot of horror movies, there's like a stupid thing that happens to create the opening. And you're kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if this really works. And then they have this jarring opening where it gets a little bit confusing. And very quickly it goes back on track. You know what's going on. But there are some silly stuff in this, like some silly commercials, and it's not really much of a spoiler to say that there are Furbies in this movie, right? These things that they have, they're going to show you, these toys look just like Furbies from 1988. Right? So, okay, great, fine. And that's okay, and it's mildly amusing, but I don't really think they needed to go in this direction. I'll get to that in a second. And the opening doesn't really relate to the rest of the film. I mean, it does, it needs to happen, but there are probably better ways they could open this up. Maybe they could open up with a dream sequence or something. That's been done a lot in horror films, but this really, to me, the opening just didn't work. And it sets, I think, a very cynical tone for the rest of the film. And, it doesn't really jibe thematically with what's to come, except for one thing. And again, we're spoiler free here, so I'm not going to go into that. The film itself is a little bit disjointed, but it's strangely entertaining. And there are many problems in this film. So there's really no emotional core. There's nobody in this film that I felt really emotionally connected to. And I think that's a problem of the screenplay. There's absolutely no compelling reason for Gemma, who's played by Williams, to create M3GAN. Now, there's a subplot set up about corporate espionage, which could have been interesting. There tends to be in certain films and novels, there tends to be somebody who is, they are a traitor, is what they are. And this works well in film, but nothing's ever done with this. And I feel like there was maybe some other portion of the film left on the cutting room floor that could have been added. And maybe it was cut for time, maybe it was cut for good reason. Now, I really feel the scares in this film are non-existent, right? I didn't feel scared. M3GAN didn't seem creepy enough to me. And there are ways to make a doll creepy. Even if you look at Child's Play and how Chucky kind of goes through some stages and has periods of time where, like he's injured and stuff like that. And there's stuff that they could do. M3GAN is also developed by our robotics engineer, Gemma, played again by Williams, so quickly that you're just like, this doesn't work. We need a longer period of time. And I know with YouTube Shorts and TikTok and all of that stuff that we end up with people today who have a short attention span, if you will. And I think we don't have to drag it out, but we could take our time, put some more emotion in it, and let it run that way. Now, Allison Williams and Violet McGraw. Violet McGraw plays the niece in this film. I think their acting really saves the film. I think the acting here is great, especially for a horror film. It's done very well. And I think a lot of things are done well enough that the film is interesting enough that you want to watch it. And I was able to watch it. I didn't shut it off. That happens a lot recently where I'll be watching a movie and I'll be like, I just don't want to watch this, or I can't watch this, or I'm done. Even with all the film's flaws, it still kind of works. And maybe I go in with some lower expectations when it comes to be a horror film, when it's a horror film. But it's no match to really any of the films that I've previously mentioned. Those films are better. They're better films. They're more interesting. But this is still not bad. And would I recommend that you watch it? I wouldn't recommend that you don't watch it. If this movie sounds interesting to you, I would say give it a watch. It's worth a watch, and you might like it better than I did. It's streaming on Peacock right now. It's definitely worth taking a look at. Now, I usually go through story doctoring, and I really think that this could have worked better if Gemma, as a character, had lost a child and built M3GAN to deal with the loss. Now, I know it's a little bit cliche, but the movie is derivative anyway. So I think this would have worked better. It would have given it more of an emotional core. And there would have been more of a reason for Gemma to build M3GAN. Now, I think they should also lean into the horror and the creepiness of M3GAN and the surroundings and everything that's happening. And I just don't think a lot of the social satire and humor worked in this film. So I would say in this case, I would remove it or maybe try to rework it. But, besides that, with all of that, I still give it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm David North Martino for Martino Movie Reviews. The full written reviews are up at our website, so I hope you'll check them out.